our eyes closed a little bit. Again, we can extend to each other. We can also extend to a couple of people that are sick right now, to Juliet and Michelle. We'll extend to them. We're glad Marilyn's here, doing really well. And again, we'll extend from the inside to the inside. We'll sit with our eyes closed a little bit. We just begin hearing one of the songs of the Vajra. And these Vajra songs are many different yogis sing them as expressions of realization. And this recording, Chalgu Rinpoche sings the Vajra song. It goes like this. Aho, the melody of timeless awareness, utter lucidity, free of elaboration, the web of unceasing magic, the display of oneness. Sovereign Lord of all the mandalas, lake-born Vajra, and here he's invoking the primordial Guru, the light of awareness, in a personal manner as a Guru Rinpoche, Padmasambhava. Grant us the single blessing to realize that all, absolutely all appearances are the Dharmakaya, the divinity of appearance. The outer environment is the charnel ground, and the gathering place co-emergent with being itself. That being itself is what's appearing. Within it, now within this, within it, within us, are all the assembled deities of naturally occurring Vajra form, the indestructible form manifesting. In the youthful exuberance of inexhaustible supreme bliss, Mahasukha, dance your dance to the immutable song of the primordial, unborn sound. As we brothers and sisters are gathered here, joined together by karma and aspiration, partaking of the Sok celebration, enjoying the wealth of supreme bliss, Mahasukha, I offer my single aspiration that we meet again as one, gathering for the celebration in the palace of the lotus light, in the pinnacle pure Rama, Sambhogakaya dimensions, Mandakaya, Dharmakaya. So if you don't mind, I'm going to read again that little talk from last week. And then we'll go again into gazing practice. So ultimately this is a little talk on gazing. So again, we'll lean into each other. When you hear these talks, you never take them literal or as if they have any authority behind them whatsoever. Then you're really free to have your own experience. You consider them more as evocative or provocative, okay? As you and I become aware of this awareness, the very nature of awareness reveals itself and manifests itself and shows itself in us as us. This awareness manifests in our bodies and beyond our bodies as spaciousness, that openness. It manifests in our bodies and beyond our bodies as the energy, the Shakti, the Chi, It manifests in our body, and beyond our body is light. The light of translucidity, the light that opens everything. It manifests, this nature, this awareness manifests in our bodies, and beyond our bodies is knowingness. It's all knowingness. And as timelessness, it manifests as timeless awareness. We'll find that right now in ourselves. That's place. And ultimately, this awareness manifests as oneness and non-duality. Paradoxically, awareness shows itself, reveals itself in us, as we experience this timelessness in time, and time in timelessness. We experience this oneness within the world, and the world within this oneness. We experience non-duality within duality, and duality within non-duality. Nothing's excluded. We are beings in the world. Actually, we're beings in the world. And we can experience the purity within all the polarities of love within hate, and hate within love. As a great mantra from the Chakrasamvara says, the nature of all phenomena is completely pure, and I am that nature. I am that nature. This is the true purity of appearances, Namanakaya, and the purity of the apparitional realm, Sambhogakaya. Most amazingly, through our awareness, we can experience the beingness of our own being, which is the beingness of being itself. We should know that this beingness is not a being. This beingness manifests in my being and your being. Actually manifests our being. But this beingness is not a being. We'll continue on. As you and I experience the beingness of being within ourselves, the door opens so that the beingness of being within others can be experienced. We experience the beingness of being within others. And in that very experience of otherness, the beingness of being becomes pervasive, infinitely pervasive. It's otherness itself that helps the pervasiveness become. There's only one beingness of being. There's only one. And the beingness of being, as we experience, becomes the vast support of life and death. The support of life after life and death after death. The very essence of this beingness, this being of being, is Mahasukha, innate bliss. The Sahaj Samadhi, natural, innate bliss. Totally natural. Nothing supernatural. The bliss dissolves suffering, and the bliss takes us through the abyss of death. The bliss of the beingness of being is the oneness of all the beings. We are beings in this world. And this world is infinite in its horizons and multidimensional. In this multidimensional awareness manifesting as the worlds, there's the world of human beings, the world of desire and flesh. There's also the world, that's the Nirmanakaya. There's also the world of the archetypical energies, Sambhogakaya. The worlds of the deities and dakinis, the gods, the goddesses. This realm of the dakinis and deities is the cosmological dimension and is completely alive in its elementalness. The elements arising out of being, which is nothingness, openness, radiant openness. The world of being, human beings, that's us, is manifested within and through this world of deities and dakinis. The archetypical dimension of the beingness of being, manifesting itself as the deities and devas, gods and goddesses, precedes in a timeless manner the world of beings as flesh and desire. The beingness of being manifests beings, manifests all the beings, in its becomingness by manifesting the deities and dakinis, the primordial energies of awareness. Although it definitely seems at times like two worlds, in fact, there's only one awareness field, which is the primordial awareness itself, manifesting different modes of beingness. The essence of us as a person is this drama that you are a being, a human being, whom being manifests, and to whom being itself reveals itself, both within us and around us, and through us and beyond us. There is this essential transmittalness of the beingness of being, and the essence of sending, manifesting, is the unveiling and revealing of beingness. This unveiling and uncovering is the essence of truth, not the truth of judgment or the adequatio intellect, the adequation of the intellect and reality. What shines into beings and through beings can never be, what shines into human beings and through human beings can never be explained by the mere presence of the being or constructed out of beings. It is not simply constructed out of us or by us. It's actually given. Being constructs us. Being gives us everything. This shining through is being itself. Primordial being, which is primordial awareness itself in its multidimensionality, shining, manifesting from being into human beings, and through human beings into being itself. Being manifests itself to itself through beings, through human beings. That's what it does. This manifestation from being into human beings and shining into human beings is often described as the archetypical expressions and manifestations, the deities and dakinis, the elements, the elementals, the shaktis. The gods and goddesses shine through phenomena, all phenomena. And the masculine and feminine is the very oneness of being in all the beings. Now the gods are the archetypical dimension and are essential in the unfolding of the beingness of being in human beings. And though they're anthropomorphized a bit too much, through them the beingness of being becomes present in human beings. The essence of the deities is the shining into this ordinary world and presenting themselves in beings as being itself, shining, illuminating, manifesting within this sea of eminence. Our very subjectivity, the subjectivity of you and me, which exist in this mind and this body and these circumstances, that primordial openness that you and I are, is the very beingness of being, looking into itself and into otherness. That's why when you focus on your own self, nothingness is often the first appearance. Emptiness, openness, space, and then the other qualities. The beingness of being gazes into itself. And the beingness of being is always gazing into itself through its manifestations of beings, human beings and all the beings. Through the gaze, the beingness of being becomes unconcealed. The essential process of being is within manifestation, becoming unconcealed from within its concealment. As for many, it's so concealed, Oblivion, just oblivion. Luminous disclosure, showing itself shining. The situations we're in, always shining into us. The situations we're in, always shining into us. And we, you and I, shining into those very situations. Circumstance is definitely method. Circumstance is definitely method. The gaze raises the look. The gaze raises the look into the original face of being, which is manifested in all faces, human as well as sentient faces, animals, fish, plant faces. Geographies are the face of being manifesting as the elementals. This gazing makes presence possible, both within beings and within the deities. This gazing makes presence possible, both within human beings and within the deities. The deities are real, just as you and I are real. They're also very much like us in that, in essence, they're not substance and they're not entities. They're the manifestation of awareness, manifesting within you as you and around you as circumstance. Their forms are kaleidoscopic, appearing and disappearing, appearing and disappearing. Actually, just like you and I, we appear, then we disappear, even to our own self at times. The difference is that you and I are primordial awareness in and as a physical body and a physical mind and a physical circumstance. Truly, this is an amazing world, and you and I live in, for now. Truly, this is the world of magical realism, magical realities, in its essence. The divinity of appearance, Namanikaya, and the divinity of the apparitional. The beingness, Dharmakaya, of a being is first felt as a field. It's felt as a field. And then this field is truly multidimensional and manifests everything. The vast field of awareness. Of course, there's no one way for human beings to realize their nature. Whew, that's good. And no one tradition has copyrights on understanding or expression. So each to their own understanding, their own expression and opinion. So we'll focus in right now. I think we'll go into gazing again. So, Steve, would you mind just walking around and turning the lights off down there? Everybody else can just sit and then turn the lights off there. We'll turn all the lights off. We'll extend. I'll get that one. That's great. Hope everyone enjoyed gazing last week. So we're going to also focus on Rinzin Dorje, who on 2 wonderful occasions taught the gazing methods, and Kunsing Daichen Limpa also taught the gazing methods. I think we can turn it all the way off. Thank you. And then we'll close that light upstairs at some point. We have to leave the little lights on because we try to cover them up. They don't work anymore. And is there a light over there? That candle you can buy Muktananda, you can blow that out? So glad to everyone here. Let's extend to each other again. So we're just going to, there's no one method, no one way, but we're going to open our mouths a little bit, like in a receptive. We're going to raise our heads just a little bit. We're going to open our eyes. And even if it's not perfectly dark, that doesn't really matter. Because as you and I know, it's great to gaze into the open sky, the wide open sky. But that's often not available in this world, at least here. So we gaze into everything and everyone, whether there's lights on or not. We're going to open our mouth, we're going to open our eyes. And we're going to just gaze into the space in the middle of the room to begin with. And gazing with the eyes. Mouth open, eyes like moons. And if you want, you can feel the 2 channels from the heart into the eyes. If you feel yourself going into a stare, a hard stare, you can just shift that and even close your eyes. Or you can gaze inside with your eyes closed also. And after you establish the sense of the gaze by focusing in, you can then open your eyes slowly. Sometimes that's the best way to begin the gazing inside. And then extending that inside to the outside. And let's extend the feel through our bodies and through our eyes. As we gaze through our eyes and extend through our eyes, we'll also extend through our bodies, down into the earth, through the perineum and the sexual center. And extending up through the heart, through the throat, the palate, mouth open. And the person coming down can just sit at the bottom of the floor there. At times you can feel the gaze either with your eyes open or closed. As you establish yourself step by step. And then we can gaze through our whole body, like Avalokiteshvara, thousands of eyes, gazing, radiating. Being gazing into beingness. Suspending the mind. Pausing the mind. Sometimes if you want, you can put your hand on your forehead like a little pause. Gazing into the moon. Mouth open. Receptive. And then opening the inner heart essence, the cave of the heart. And gazing through the heart. I'm gazing into the midpoint in the sky. If you like, you can gaze into everything, gazing into each other. And the people in front of you, people to the right, to the left, behind you. And truly speaking, the gazer is gnosis. Gnosis. Unmediated. Direct. If you like, you can bring your eyes down into the heart. Bringing your mind down to the heart. allowing the gaze, the embodied gaze, to pass through, allowing us to pass through each other. If you like, you can pass through in all the directions, unbound. If you get tired, you can just gaze in. noticing as you gaze in, also gazing out. One gaze. And if you'd like, you can invoke the deities that you love. Without visualizing them or imagining them. If you like, you can gaze into a person who you know and love dearly, but without visualizing them. Just gazing into them. Whole being. Heart essence. With our minds, it's impossible to gaze through death. It's an abyss. With our minds alone. Mysterious. Let's gaze for the deathless state, through death. Do not visualize, do not imagine. Do you feel the power of awareness in the gaze? Do you feel the power of the awareness, of awareness itself in the gaze? In your gaze. If you don't, use the energy around you. Use the person next to you, the person across from you. Use the room itself. Use the deities. Use the great yogis. Use the earth, sky. Use memory. Use the mantra. for a moment, to continue doing what you're doing, or if you'd like, you can gaze into the generational field for a moment. The land of the ancestors, the plane of the ancestors. The light, meaning the light. And the bigness of being, gazing into the bigness of being. Glad everybody here today. We're going to pause for a little while. And last week we only had one or two sharings. And the reason we articulate our experience is because we really learn so much as people articulate out of the field. Their experience of the field puts flesh. Huh? So I'm going to ask you, though, not to go into a narrative, okay? If you go into a long narrative, I'm going to say, no narrative, but just describe. That'd be best for both of us, okay? So, no narrative, just describing your experience, just as it is. It speaks for itself. And I'll pass the mic around. If you don't want to share it, you do not have to. But no narrative, just the experience, either of today or last week. A-okay? A-okay. But no narrative, no long preferences. So I'll pass the mic to my right, and it'll go around. It's the act of a bodhisattva. It's not only for the other, it's also for your own self. It's not only for your own self, but for the other. But do not have to share. Doesn't mean you're not a bodhisattva. It's the first grade. It has that much power. As one. As we felt last week.
It's a combo of last week and this week. Last week, as I was gazing, I began to see, first of all, a density. The light was very dense, and I could see many different particles. And for the first time, I was seeing dark light where there wasn't a colored light. And then as I continued gazing, and you asked us to focus on the heart, first my mind said, oh, how can I do that? And then that left. And then I started to see brilliant white, green, and purple light swirling in the room. And then as I continued to focus through my heart, I started to see like a fire, those colors, especially the white light, leaping up from each person. So it felt I was seeing each person's essence through the light, not through thought, not through feeling, but simply through the light. And it just went on and on like that. And I was feeling guided that it was a new initiation for me of seeing essence through light of each person. And then I did start to feel a connection to each person from the heart. And then today that continued, and then I went into a deeper piece, which was a powerful metaphor of simply gazing without avoiding anything. which is something I'm trying to do right now in my life, and it became really powerful. Like, just be in it. Don't look at anything with any purpose. Just give in to the gaze itself, and do not leave. Do not avoid.
I was caught by the song of the Vajra with the phrase of dancing with the immutable, unborn sound. And I stuck with that throughout the whole experience. And it just, the best example of, or the clearest example of that was when you suggested going into the heart and pulling the eyes and then the mind into the heart. And I experienced this incredible plump love. Probably I never had one, but probably the love you experience from an Italian mother. where there's this sense of plenty and all you can, it's just complete fullness. And there was one time too where I gazed into the gaze. And I saw gazing as light going in and out. And then it just stopped and became just pure light.
Upon starting the gaze, there was a falling into, a resting into darkness. No leaping, no transition, just falling into it. And the darkness wasn't luminous. It was just like falling into an abyss, but no fear. There was no feeling of any sort, just being there. The eyes were all over the body and beyond the body, and there was a tent that came from the heart in all dimensions, and where there may be a knot or an edge to the net was there were eyes instead, which were my eyes. So I was looking out, looking back as well as the tent got larger and larger. The same happened when the tent that we practiced went out from the whole body, starting low and moving up. Again, all around like a skirt and just moving up. And that just rested in the darkness. There was no seeing anything. Even though there were eyes looking at eyes, it was not seeing really anything. When you said perhaps you can gaze at the generation of ancestors, I kind of got lost in that. And so came back to within my own body and anchored again. So I'm not sure what happened with the ancestors.
Thank you so much. And we know that tent, the Vajra tent, is truly great protection. Thank you so much.
Today has been an ongoing joining with Gaia and an organic sense of interconnectedness through the cells and the circulatory system out into the other dimensions and the cosmos. So it's been very plant kingdom and cosmic at the same time. And in the gaze, there's been a sort of an awakening of the middle ground, and almost sometimes a feeling like a camera lens finding a spot that's where the foreground and the background almost shift and change places, and then in the middle ground there's a just a whole new vision of the net, like Indra's net, and that almost has like a gossamer butterfly wing sense, and it's just that sense of how it just how everything is so interconnected in that, and just seeing that in a whole new way. There's a vibration and a light and movement and stillness in the gaze, and a full body gaze, and just feeling it all in the heart, and gazing especially from the heart. There's just so much more brilliance comes in.
I was experiencing initially the interplay of the light and the dark, the intense electric blue, purple light with the darkness, the black luminous light, the movement of that in and out, but it felt very frontal to me, and I wanted it to be more three-dimensional. And then when you said move to the heart, it became three-dimensional, and then with the pass-through, it became like a rolling out and expanding out and out and out of that same dark and light, and then moving back into the heart. And I was feeling, began to feel like I'm like the breath of, is it Brahma, who breathes the universe into creation, and then the expansion and contraction, like I was the central sun of the Milky Way galaxy, or of the universe, with the expansion of these clouds of light expanding out, expanding out, expanding out, and then moving back, contracting, back into the heart, and then back out again. Anyway.
Thank you so much. Because people are particularly feel it in our bodies. It really is this feeling.
So what I see on the inside and what I see on the outside are so exactly the same that it's difficult to know when my eyes are open and when my eyes are closed. It's Barbara. And it's like the gazing in and the gazing out are the exact same gaze. And it's full of light and stars and twinkles and blue lights. Last week, I had the experience that, similar to what others have spoken about, where as I gazed into others and around the room, what I saw was light and energy. And that was very expansive, to begin to see light and energy as our being, our beingness of being. And today, what kept coming to me was Baba's words that God dwells within you as you, and see God in each other, and that that is the light and energy and the essence. And as we gaze through our heart, I also began to gaze through different places in my body. And especially as I was in the pelvic area, I began to experience this vastness. And first it was like vastness of fear, and I just went with that. Then it was like vastness of joy, and I went with that. And then I began to realize that there's just pervasiveness, of whatever, that like tolerating the pervasiveness of whatever that state might be was really quite liberating.
For me, I was at some point you asked us to gaze out, and I looked, and there was a very tall, dark form, tall as the ceiling, and the form just approached once I looked and saw, and sort of wrapped around me, and it was just dark and rich and quiet, like the stillness of peace. And it's just very wonderful presence that stayed with me for a long, long part of the gazing.
I'm surprised by how many people's experiences are the same this time. I had this network of light show up and kind of emerge in this blotchy, filamented way and sort of poke out from space at me, and it keeps shifting and moving, and it moves with my mood, it moves with my attention, it moves a little bit before those things, and I'm starting to get a sense of how structured it is and how sort of inscrutably complicated it is, and I can't put a thought to it really, but I think if I let it intensify, then I can sort of be it, something like that.
When we brought our eyes to our heart, I wouldn't say I did this, I'd more say it happened, that my heart gazed into my heart with one eye, and my heart was gazing outside with the other eye. And the gaze into the heart was a roiling, boiling turmoil of intense blue light creating infinite universes. Means just, I wish there were words to describe it. I start crying. Unbelievable. And the gaze outside was just totally calm and full of darkness, and then bursts of white light falling down. And then when we gazed into death, I could feel sort of my body start to drop away, And then the gaze was into the gaze, and then I became the gaze. And wow.
Beautifully described. We'll pause for a moment. While we wait till after that, okay? Yes, go ahead then. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But light. Yes. And that translucidity doesn't necessarily have to be white light, blue light, green light, or any light. Sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. But it's just the translucidity of gnosis. Thank you so much. So when everyone articulates, then the flesh comes into being. If you understand what I mean by that, the flesh of awareness comes into being. So I know it's not always easy being here, you know, and everyone is so disciplined. I really appreciate it so much, because without that, we'd wobble around the place. But I want everyone to overcome, as much as possible, shyness. Very seldom have I met in my life a person who has yogic qualities, who's not shy. Maybe you have, you with me? But they all, whoever has a yogic capacity, there's a natural shyness there. Do you know that? Do you know that? And so in order to bring yourself forth and to teach, you with me, and I don't mean a formal sort of way with a little outfit, you know, but to bring yourself forth, that shyness for all of us has to be dissolved in time. You with me? And it is part of the trip. Say yes. You don't have to agree with it. Say yes if you hear me saying that. If you want. It is part of the trip. You with me? Because awareness arising and that you know how precious it is, and you hold it that way. There's a natural shyness, aside from whatever took place in our life, that arises. You with me? And you hear this over and over again through yogis, whatever tradition, expressing that doorway. You guys follow what I'm saying? So with that, I'm now going to pass the mic again, okay? I would like everybody to share briefly. Doesn't just a word or two of your placing your voice, your Vajra voice, in the rink.
My experience was in the dark. It really was a very dark, black experience, but my awareness was of oneness, and my experience was really a passing through everyone and having everyone pass through me, and then it went a passing through the earth, literally very elemental, and me passing through the elements, and it was exquisite.
Thank you so very much. Next person.
My experience has been a combination of infinite, in everything possible shapes and shapelessness at the same time, and so it's shifting. It's as the gaze, I can go. I am an infinite number of shapes. I'm an infinite amount of energy. I'm an infinite amount of light. And both concrete and shape and formless and shapeless.
Thank you so very, very much. Next person.
Between last week and this week, it feels it is embodied spaciousness. And last week, as well as this week, it was the darkness, seeing, feeling. It's like dancing in the dark, falling into the dark, and that darkness is pure spaciousness without any reference, and yet there is a reference at the same time. And last week, it was an experience of Tigleys in the form of felt waves, of just opening and opening and opening over and over again, and deepening and opening. This week, as we went in, it was connecting to the heart was another opening, and then it was like a playfulness emerged of, oh, well, let's go into the lower center and see what's there. And it was like fire, a lot of fire, and then that brought forth more opening in the heart, and then the heart opened up more with the head, and then it was connecting the channels from the eyes and the head deeper, 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 deeper into the heart, and then extending out in all directions, just that the emergence of held, being held, and I am the held, and I am the holder at the same time, emerged, and then I just heard someone say, when you said jump into death, I think I was hanging out there for an awful long time as you started speaking again, because when I came back, there's this connection that's happened between my head and my heart, that it's so thoughtless. It's like I'm not thinking. Yet I'm here speaking, so I'm not sure how that's happening, but it's happening, so.
So last week when we dropped from the gaze of the eyes into gazing in the heart, I felt this enormous expansion in the trunk of my body, and it stayed with me pretty much throughout the week. And this week, as I was working, I discovered that if I tried to do my work from my head, I felt fatigue. And if I was able to work from my heart, or from that open, expanded space in my heart, and just let the work flow, I felt energized. And this week for me was primarily just dark liquid light throughout all the session.
So when I experienced the gazing, whether it was with eyes open or eyes closed, it was the same. And there was this exquisite, undulating, unfolding, like sky. And the drop to the heart
I experienced timeless awareness more than I ever have, and felt just the gaze remaining.
It was just an incredible amount of spaciousness and darkness. And when we went into each, when we expanded the front and the back to each other, then just everything was just so large and so grand and so safe. It was just so nice to be with surrounded by all the other beings. And then when we went to those we loved, it was just great. All the expansion and how far you can go. I just love that.
I love it when we do the gazing every year, because I feel like a child that has wonder. And I've been experiencing this in and out, this shifting inside, outside, and I'm just in touch with Venetian blinds. You open, you close, you open, you close, and it's almost in perfect order. And so I just go with that process of the opening and closing.
Sometimes they look like Venetian blinds, but they also call them Vajra chains. Little golden little strings on it. Just mention that. Aside. Thank you. Next person.
I felt the column of connecting my heart with my mind, and it's just pure white light, luminous, radiant light. And then my mind just came to rest in my heart, and still is. The gazing for me was like looking out through a window that has no glass in it. So it's just like an immediacy of expanse and profound beingness and awareness all around you, in everything and everyone, and love, just this abiding love that is the essence of this awareness of the gaze.
When we first extended today, I felt the vortexes of the beings all on the walls open up as doorways, and for me that gave me a sense of great excitement and safety, and like a sense of home. And when I went into the gaze quickly became complete darkness, and I stayed and rested in that darkness most of the time, and felt like what was occurring in my body was a letting go into the liquid love that just is, that there was no difference between the inner and the outer, and that there was nothing else but a sense of love, and that what was happening was the knots in my body that were
felt like fixated points that felt like it was not, I wasn't capable of tolerating that amount of love flowing through me, were dissolving. And then as you directed us each step, I felt like that process deepened until the very end. Without doing anything, I began to see all the beings in the room, and the darkness lifted, and it was, however, it was like there was no difference being with the darkness or seeing everybody around me. It was all the same. I think I'm the last one, Rudy.
I've got it. Lorette. For me, the most powerful part of the experience today in the gazing was the a sense of moving from this incredibly scattered, chaotic sense of out of control experience into this, which still continues, this energetic circular motion that's not quite a vortex because it doesn't get smaller at any point, but it just is, it's moving in me and around me, and at the same time there's this very deep sense of being a solid, like a column connected to the earth. So there's this fabulous energy and there's also this very grounded quality.
This is Lorette's right. It was resting and just letting go in the dark, luminous light. Heidi.
I find the term gazing tends to be misleading for me because when we start, I gaze with my eyes and I see the pixelation, I see the density, I see all these things, but it's not until I actually go away from my eyes, and it's almost like I'm using everything but my eyes, and then the room just opens up into this completely other space, and it's a feeling, I find, more than a looking, and maybe that's what the problem is. It's not looking, it's gazing, but yeah, it's so that's
I found that immediately once the lights turned off, I just saw like star bright sky, and then those stars just sort of turned into everywhere, almost like a black and white fuzzy screen on a television that has no reception. And just seeing that everywhere, not really seeing anything, it kind of just being constant movement, constant activity of dark and light, but really neither. And then when you brought up death, at first my, analytical mind popped on and was like, wow, you should be freaking out now, Jasmine. You should freak out about death or something. And I was completely at peace and just like, yeah, it's just more black and white fuzzies on my TV. So I was, yeah.
I am sitting across from the flowers I brought, which I usually don't do, and when I started gazing, there was this incredible purple light flare from those flowers that were just shocked me, and it was quite wonderful. And as they continued gazing, they continued just the light. It was like watching a flaring star. The light just circled, and it was beautiful. The other thing was that when you said to focus on death, I had been feeling this incredible bliss, and I just had this awareness, oh, I follow bliss into death. That's the path.
In the outer, inner, and secret cave we gather, and reality, naked reality blazes beyond space and time.